Hi guys, Milan Misaljevic here, and today I want to tell you a little bit about a piece that I really love and that I really wish more violists played. This is Sonata-Song by Khachaturian. I absolutely love this piece, and I really want to introduce it to the viola world some more. And stay tuned, at the end I have actually a little giveaway to announce. So I came across this piece actually when I was in my teens. I remember reading some articles about Soviet music, and the titans of Soviet music at the time were seen as Prokofiev, Shostakovich, and Khachaturian. And I just remember a little bit about some of his later works, which actually include solo sonatas for string instruments, for violin, viola, and cello. And years later, when I was replacing my former teacher, Atar Rad, at Indiana University, I remember a student came in and brought in this piece, and I remember that I had heard of it. I was definitely intrigued. I ordered the music, which was actually not incredibly easy to find. Some of my recent research into this indicates that it might be a little bit easier these days. But I actually ordered this from a Japanese publisher called Zen on Music. This seems to be the most readily available edition of the piece today, as opposed to in the past, before the trade agreements between the former Soviet bloc and the West changed. So I got the music. I cannot say that I actually loved it at first sight. It took me a little bit of time to warm up to it. I perhaps perceived it as somewhat unclear in its ideas or in its focus. But later on, when I was planning my solo viola CD, I actually went back to the piece, worked on it some more, and I ended up absolutely in love with it. So much so that my solo viola CD ultimately is actually named after the piece. The sonata was written in 1976, and it was premiered a year later by the noted Russian violist Mikhail Tulpigo. Khachaturian died not long after that. By the way, check out Mikhail Tulpigo. He's a very fine player, not so well known in the West. What I love about this piece is its sound world. I love where this sonata is coming from. First of all, it is extremely well written for the viola. It just sits really well in the hand. It's far from easy, but the writing is extremely idiomatic in the most pleasurable way. And if you know viola music, and if you're a violist, you know that whether you like it or not, a lot of viola music kind of gravitates toward more somber, more serious, more introverted sonorities, or the compositions for viola are largely that way. But actually I find this sonata to be somewhat bright and in its sonorities, and I like that to me it overall has a rather optimistic feeling, even though it has a very poignant, very unusual ending, which sounds as though I somehow imagined someone's soul suddenly just leaving their body and them passing on into another world. But in spite of that poignant ending, the piece actually offers some rather brilliant and engaging moments that are not necessarily so somber. The beginning is very unusual. It's a bit like a kaleidoscope. You have all these lines kind of in different registers, and they slowly come together. You have a bunch of thematic material exposed after that. The second theme is very much inspired by Armenian folklore. This was what always drove Khachaturian's output. If you read a little bit about him, he was very much in that sort of Soviet modernist school. He very much used classical forms. This really is a sonata, actually, if you look at it, and it's very clear about how the material is exposed and how it's used, that it's a classical sonata form without really anything revolutionary about it whatsoever. But Khachaturian made it his mission to incorporate Armenian folklore into its music. He was always deeply inspired by it, and this piece is no exception. I love the way that he does this. I find it very sincere, very evocative. It is always done with wonderful taste and with a very deep understanding of how to combine classical Western tradition with folklore. As the piece progresses, you get all these clashes of thematic material, one with another. There's all kinds of interesting technical devices being used. There's some crazy pizzicatos, and you go up very high on the instrument, and I love the way the piece is written. It is actually, I would say, a lot more diverse in its technical means and in the sounds that you get, if you just think of it in terms of color or maybe even temperature of sound. You get a lot more, actually, than, for instance, I would say in works by Paul Hindemith. Khachaturian died in 1978, so last year was the anniversary of his passing, and I don't remember reading or hearing anything about it. I don't remember anybody talking about it particularly. I unfortunately think that his music has fallen by the wayside. Perhaps it was the fact that he was a regime man that was not particularly favorable to his reputation in the long run. And perhaps, you know, the kind of idiom that his music is written in is just not something in vogue these days. But I absolutely love this piece. I do wish more violists played it. I think rightly, complained that our instrument doesn't have enough first-class repertoire for it. But I think this piece could easily join those ranks. It really offers a great deal in both both technical and emotional way, for what it's worth. So I strongly believe in it. I absolutely love it. I use every chance I can get when I perform a solo viola recital to include the Sonata-Song. And I'd like to announce actually a little giveaway. I would like to give out 3 copies of my solo viola CD called Sonata-Song. It also includes music by Bach, the solo sonata by John Harbison, which I was actually the first to record. Also music by Penderecki, Britten, Valentin Silvestrov. The first 3 people to leave their names in the comment section, I'll get in touch with you. If you're in the continental United States, you get a copy of my CD. So go out there, get the music. This piece is beautiful and really worth learning. If you're a violist and if you're a viola lover, well, go out there, check it out. It's really gorgeous. So anyway, I look forward to hearing from you. I have 3 viola CDs of mine to give out. Leave your comments below, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Thank you so much.